August 1st, 1991. A sun-drenched dock on the coast of Sardinia. Italian police close in on a handsome American sailor living under a fake identity. His name is John Hawkins, and he's wanted for murder. But here's the twist that cracked the case. A distinctive white birthmark on his penis. Investigators called it the Palomino Dick, and it was the only way to identify a man who had changed his name, his face, and his entire life. This is the story of the ultimate con artist. A hustler who seduced the rich and famous, a killer who almost got away with the perfect crime, and the obsessive detective who refused to let him disappear. April 16th, 1988, Los Angeles, California. Dr. Richard Boggs calls 911. A patient has died of a heart attack in his office. The deceased is identified as Gene Hansen, a businessman from Ohio. The body is cremated the next day. Case closed, or so it seemed. But 3 months later, insurance investigators ask a simple question. Did anyone actually compare the body to Hansen's driver's license photo? The answer was no. And by then, the body had been reduced to ash. The dead man wasn't Gene Hansen. It was Ellis Green, a bookkeeper with a drinking problem. Police believe he was lured from a North Hollywood gay bar, brought to Dr. Boggs's office, and suffocated to death. This wasn't just murder. It was an elaborate insurance fraud. Gene Hansen had a $1 million life insurance policy, and the sole beneficiary was his young business partner, 26-year-old John Hawkins. Within days of the murder, Hawkins collected the insurance money and disappeared. Who was John Hawkins? To understand that, you have to go back to the beginning. Born into a family of drug dealers and criminals, Hawkins learned early that charm was currency. By his teens, he was already hustling in Las Vegas. By his early 20s, he had infiltrated the highest levels of society. He became a bartender at Studio 54, the legendary New York nightclub. But he wasn't just serving drinks. He was selling drugs to celebrities and working as a high-priced escort to wealthy men. One client flew him to London for a week, paying him thousands of dollars. His mentor was Steve Rubell, the club's co-owner. His clients included movie moguls, fashion designers, and even royalty. Hawkins claimed he could make $5,000 in a single night. But he wanted more than money. He wanted legitimacy. In 1984, he partnered with Gene Hansen, a former shoe buyer, to start a business called Just Sweats. It became a successful chain of athletic wear stores. On the surface, Hawkins was a young entrepreneur. Underneath, he was still a con artist, and he was planning the ultimate scam. After the murder, Hawkins vanished. He emptied the Just Sweats bank accounts, abandoned his Mercedes at the airport, and disappeared into the wind. For 3 years, he lived as a ghost. He traveled under multiple fake identities. He got plastic surgery to alter his appearance, a chin implant, collagen injections in his lips, but he couldn't resist keeping his good looks. He went to Toronto, then the Caribbean, then Amsterdam, where he became Bradley Bryant, a Canadian businessman. He played basketball, seduced women, and lived the high life. Friends described him as magnetic, electric, impossible to resist. He bought a 40-foot catamaran and named it Carpe Diem. Seized the day, he sailed to England, then Spain, then Sardinia. Everywhere he went, he left a trail of admirers and lovers. He was living his fantasy, the perpetual traveler. No government, no taxes, no rules. He even carried a book about it, treating his fugitive life like a philosophy. But back in America, someone was hunting him. Sergeant John Perkins was a pugnacious obsessive who slept less than 4 hours a night. When he was assigned to the Hawkins case, he became consumed by it. Perkins had no fingerprints, no dental records. Hawkins had changed his name and his face. The trail was ice cold. So Perkins did something unusual. He started calling numbers from Hawkins's old phone book, and he discovered that Hawkins had connections to some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Most of them hung up on him, but one, a movie mogul, finally gave Perkins the break he needed. During a heated phone call, the mogul revealed something crucial. Hawkins had vitiligo, a skin pigmentation condition, but only on his penis. Perkins called it the Palomino Dick. And suddenly he had a way to identify Hawkins that couldn't be changed with surgery or fake IDs. Perkins also turned to television. He pitched the case to America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries. The shows aired and tips poured in. Over 3,000 calls, but Hawkins remained a ghost. Until one viewer in Amsterdam recognized him. July 14, 1991. A woman named Diana was watching television in the Netherlands when she saw a familiar face. It was Bradley, the charming sailor she had met in Spain, except his real name was John Hawkins, and he was wanted for murder. She called the authorities. The tip made its way to Perkins, but all she could tell him was that Hawkins was sailing somewhere in the Mediterranean. It was Hawkins' own father who provided the final clue. Through a complicated trail of phone calls, investigators learned that Hawkins was in Sardinia, sailing a red catamaran called Carpe Diem. On August 1, 1991, American naval investigator Andy Hogan and Italian police staked out the docks in Canione. They spotted the boat, and they waited. When Hawkins returned from a date, they grabbed him. He struggled, insisting they had the wrong man. He was traveling under an Irish passport in the name of Glenn Donald Hewson. But then the police asked him to drop his pants, and there it was, the distinctive white birthmark, the Palomino Dick, the one thing Hawkins couldn't change. After 3 years on the run, John Hawkins was finally in custody. The Italian media went wild. They called him the American gigolo, the playboy killer, the yuppie assassin. Women flocked to the prison with flowers and gifts. Hawkins tried to escape once, filing through the bars of his cell and lowering himself down with bed sheets. But guards heard him and caught him before he could get over the wall. In July 1992, Hawkins was extradited to Los Angeles. His partner, Gene Hansen, had already been arrested and was awaiting trial. Dr. Richard Boggs had been convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Hawkins maintained his innocence. He claimed he had no idea that anyone would be killed. He said he thought they were using a corpse from a morgue, but prosecutors didn't buy it. The phone records told a different story. Hawkins faced life in prison, and the detective who hunted him, John Perkins, finally got his man. This is the story of John Hawkins, the ultimate hustler, a man who could charm anyone, seduce anyone, con anyone, but in the end he couldn't outrun the truth. And he couldn't change the one thing that gave him away.